Hey, Giant Builders, happy Tuesday. I have a couple announcements to make before we introduce the speaker, which will be a surprise for you. Um, as you may or may not know, the four pillars to the Giant Builders are spiritual, health, family, and business. So I'm really going to be focusing on pillar 3 for a bit. That's family. I've shared a couple episodes ago that my son lives in Lahaina, and just a lot of emotional points there for me. But my grandchildren from Lahaina, Maui are coming to visit for their fall break in a couple of weeks. And so I am going to slow down a little bit of production here for the Giant Builders. And I am going to, and with the holidays coming up here at the end of the year, I am going to only be posting on Tuesdays at 2 for a while until things get a little slowed down and kind of really just enjoy a little bit of life. So I hope that you won't be offended, but we'll just be Tuesdays at 2 for a bit. And so now for the big surprise, today's speaker is, ta-da, me. So I have really been enjoying podcasting, and I think that it's something that many of you would also enjoy. So I want to give you some reasons as to maybe why you should start your own podcast, some benefits of it. And also I put a podcast course together. So I want to make an offer to that as well. So I hope you'll listen. I hope you enjoy. And we'll see you next week.
Building spirituality, family, health, and business. This is the Giant Builders with Lois Wyant.
Hello and welcome. My name is Lois Wyant, and today I wanted to share with you why now is the best time to start a podcast. I personally have a podcast called The Giant Builders, and I've learned so much through this process of having a podcast. And I started my podcast because I was having a consultation with a coach, a business coach, and she asked me, what did I see in my future? And one of those items was a podcast. I had it on my heart that I wanted to do a podcast, and a podcast that was encouraging mostly to women, but also to men. It has 4 pillars, in which case they are spiritual, health, family, and business. And in my own opinion, I felt like those were the things that for me helped me to build up my children, build up my husband, build up my business. And I wanted to share those things with other people. And so I shared that with her, and she just kind of said to me, so why don't you start it? And I didn't have an answer to that question. Why don't you start it? So I said, okay, I will. And so that's how the Giant Builders got started. And I do share often some of the things that I learned from it and some of the things I should not have done. But the question is to you now, why aren't you starting your podcast? So maybe this little talk that we're going to have will be inspiring to you to help you to see that you should get yours started. So let's talk about some of the benefits of a podcast and some of the benefits that I found. I think it's a wonderful way to reach specifically a niche audience. So if you have your niche really down, say, for example, you are talking to parents of autistic children. Though that's something that if somebody has an autistic child, that's something that they're going to search out and to get some advice and get some opinions on how to help their child. So it can help you really reach a specific niche audience. It gives you authority and credibility to have a podcast, and people respect the fact that you're sharing your knowledge, and that builds up your authority. It gives you a chance to show your personality. So you can share the fact that you're a fun person, a funny person, a serious person, but a chance to really show who you are. And it's sometimes even show who you're not. Maybe there's somebody that comes out as kind of a hidden personality of you, but that's a lot of fun things too. You have the audience that's worldwide. Anybody can find your podcast online. So it gives you an opportunity to really reach a big audience. It gives you the opportunity to monetize your message through different ways that you can do that. So why start a podcast? It is fun. I will tell you that it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun talking to people. And I've streamlined things so much. It used to take me like 4 hours to completely put a podcast online. And now it's down to about like an hour. But I would share that it is fun. There's an easy entry because all you need is really a computer. Well, a computer with a camera and an audio. So it's really easy to entry. And then you can also advance and get fancier microphones and things of that nature. But it does have a very simple entry area. It gives you a chance to develop new skills as far as just communication skills, organization skills, technical skills. I really enjoyed the things that I've learned through podcasting. It is definitely a unique creative outlet as far as just the creativity that you can perform, either through your conversations, through your presentation. It gives you a chance to really be creative in who you are. You can also increase the size of your network as far as through the people that you interview or the people who listen to you. You can really increase the size of the number of people that you are interacting with. And it gives you an opportunity to help others. Again, through the information that you're sharing or just meeting people or introducing other people to your audience. It gives you a chance to establish a brand, what your business is or what you speak for or who you are. It gives you a chance to build a relationship with your listeners. It's kind of fun to hear people reach out to me and say, hey, I really like this speaker, or to read the notes on the YouTube channel. It gives you a chance to really build a relationship with them. It's definitely convenient for consumers. This one platform that people can multitask with. So they can, as they're walking, they can listen to your podcast, or as they're driving or just doing different things, they can listen to your podcast. So it's very easy for people to get access to. I will tell you that meeting the people that I've interviewed has been such a blessing. I have enjoyed so many of these people and just building relationships with them and conversations with them following their actual interview with my podcast. Your audience can be worldwide. There's nothing that's going to stop anybody from around the world to see your podcast or to listen to your podcast. And then also gives you a chance to promote your own product or your own service, so you can build maybe your main business while you're doing a little side hustle with your podcast. So some of the main questions to answer as you put your podcast together before you actually start your podcast. So what is your why? And that's really a hard question, because I think many of us don't answer the question right. And I continuously go back. There is you can look for it on YouTube. It's Start With Why with Simon Sinek. And I listen to this so often because I get really confused on the word why. And as you'll see through his video, so many times we start on the outside answering our why. And really we need to start on the inside answering the why. So I recommend checking this out. Do a YouTube search for Start With Why with Simon Sinek. And it will really help you understand what is your why. What is your purpose? What is the purpose of your podcast? Is it to meet new people? Is it to get information out to people? What is the real purpose of your podcast, your topic? What is your topic? Is your topic something about helping children? Is it cooking? Is it health? What is your topic? Narrow that down. And then who is your audience? What kind of people are going to listen to the information that you're sharing? And this will all help you too with your search engine optimization, your SEO, and creating titles or things like that. These are all important questions to help you in building up the content of your podcast. Why should they listen to you? What's the advantage to listening to your podcast? What are they going to get from the information that you're sharing? So once you've answered all these questions, what's next? Where do I start? That is a tough question. You can definitely go through tons and tons of YouTube channels and do lots of searches, but I really have tried to narrow it down and make it easy for you, in which I created simple steps to get your podcast started course. And I've taken my experience from starting my podcast and helped you to not make the same mistakes that I made. So, and I'm honest in there. I'll tell you where I made this mistake and why you should do it this way instead of the way that I did it, because I think that's important. I think that we can advance ourselves quicker if we learn from other people's mistakes. So the modules include working on your mindset, getting prepared mindfully as to what you're wanting to do with your podcast, the equipment you need to get started. And it's not as big of a list as you think. It's a very simple list to get started. And then as you go, you can always advance that area. Your branding. What do you really need for your branding to get started? What's the minimum that you really need to have? Defining your niche. And I will tell you that my niche is way too wide. And I have really, really been in prayer about what should I narrow my niche down to? And nothing has really come out to me very specifically. So that is something that I'm working on as far as really narrowing it down more. But I get some tips for you as far as how you can do that, because I've learned from my mistake. Finding and making connections with guests. This was probably the one point that I was scared of the most when I started, is like, where do I find guests? And I will tell you that my first call out for guests, I had 86 people respond. And it was like, oh no, now if I do this once a week, I've got a year and a half here of podcast recordings. So I want to share with you like how to find the right guest, how to narrow them down, because I will tell you again, my mistake is I have a few guests on my podcast that probably wasn't really right for me and for what I feel would be my audience. But I learned from that, and I want to share that with you. So how to find and make connections with the right guests. And then how to organize things. I was overwhelmed with that part too, as far as just, especially since I started with 86 people who wanted to be on my podcast. So how to organize it as far as the guests, the production, the guest registration forms, all of those types of things. The actual production, as far as how are you going to record this, and what is the easiest way to create the production? Again, we don't want to spend hours. I've narrowed that down to a lot of time. And then prepping and scheduling social media. That's an overwhelming one. Social media, there's so many different things to do with your posts and your reels and your shorts and your stories and all of this. And I've really found some tools to really narrow that down and make it much simpler. And then also some ways to monetize. There are different processes, and the ways to monetize might be a beginning structure for you as far as deciding how you want to promote to your speakers or to your audience. So that's something that's very important too. So again, it's called Simple Steps to Get Your Podcast Started, in which case I will have a link to it below. And I hope that you will start your podcast very soon, because it's not hard and it's a lot of fun, and it's a great way to meet and make a lot of connections. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you in the course.
Thank you for listening. This has been The Giant Builders with Lois Wyant.